Oh, hello there, everybody. I am F Zappa 20, and you are watching YouTube. We have several things to talk about here today. I have been watching a lot of Frank Zappa videos here on YouTube. I have a couple of quick thoughts about the shows at the Sphere coming up. The shows at the Sphere. Watched this crazy James Brown video. Someone had an incident with a kid in the street and a ball. I didn't run over him. We got this Scene and Vision Quest, which kind of made me started thinking about all these Phish shows that we go to. Got the upcoming shows that I was going to recap. And then there was like a weird UFC event the other night. And again, it kind of made me wonder, like, has there ever been any kind of like weird Phish shows? So I started digging in and looking around there. And I started to do kind of like my favorite cities or the best cities, the most historic cities. Well, then it just kind of turns into venue. It's more related to venues, and I think I've already done a video at some point about my favorite venues. So we will just should we start with the Zappa stuff, or where exactly should we start? Let's see here. Maybe or should we just jump right into the Sphere? Okay, so the Zappa stuff it is, and which it was nice because the video I saw and what Frank was talking about kind of led nicely into this August 11th, 2009 Harry Hood. And he was saying, I don't know what the question was exactly, but his answer, he was talking about how a lot of other rock stars and rock shows at the time, the guitar player plays their solo, and it's essentially the same solo every night at the same part of the show, and they practice it, and it's nice and crisp and clean, and it's just perfect. But he's like, that's not really how I do it. That's not what I do. I approach it a different way. And it was kind of funny. He said he had a basic knowledge of the function of the instrument. Yeah, I would say. So he takes this basic knowledge of the function of the instrument and couples that with his imagination, and boom, that's his guitar solos. I'm sure it would be nice if everybody could do it that way. And then he also was like, look, we pick a song, I have an allotted amount of time roughly in that song, and the song could switch up each night, but essentially that was still always the game plan. Know how to play guitar, have an imagination, play a solo. Pretty incredible. Pretty easier said than done, too, obviously. But you do see that play into Phish a lot. And, it reminded me, every now and then I go back and I'll look at some quotes from Zappa the Hard Way. There's a book written about his final tour, and there were some quotes from Trey in there. And Trey talked about seeing him in the band in '88 in Burlington, and how it helped him, taught him basically, opened up his eyes on how to write songs like Split Open and Meld and You Enjoy Myself. And I'm sure the same things with the solos. They have their songs. Harry Hood's a good example. Slave to the Traffic Light, YEM. It's like, all right, here's the little slot for the guitar solo. And Trey has his imagination. And also has a knowledge of the function of the instrument, I would say, and many other gadgets around it. And then I also listened to that spun me into, he had a run in, not really a run in, but a situation with John Lennon that didn't go well. Frank was a little like, he had a little bit of a hate, he was drinking some haterade. There wasn't very many musicians from his era that played rock and roll that he had much nice to say about. So he didn't really have glowing things to say about John Lennon, of course. But John Lennon may have been in the wrong. They met, they agreed to play, he invites John Lennon over to play at a show that night. And John and Yoko go, and they join Frank on stage, and they were recording, and they had agreed, I guess, that, hey, Frank was like, I'll do what I want with these recordings, and you can do what you want with these recordings. Well, John Lennon eventually did something with the recordings, put it out on an album, but he changed the name of the song and gave him and Yoko credit. And they played Frank's King Kong. And Frank was like, it was certainly, that was the song that we played that night was a song, and somebody wrote it, and it was not them, and the person was like, have you ever done anything about that? And at the time he said not yet. And I don't believe he ever did do anything about it, as far as lawsuits or anything like that. But, same thing with like a Jimi Hendrix. And I saw he did sit in with Pink Floyd, but I also feel like I remember him having not so nice things to say about Pink Floyd. Same thing with Led Zeppelin. He was like, cool songs, but they're playing them the wrong way. Just Hendrix essentially described him as just like a drunk waste of talent. I don't know. He just had a little bit of hater in him. But, I don't know. It's probably like, rarely has this happened to me, but sometimes I'll find myself on the internet in a situation where I'm like, oh my God, these people are all just so wrong and stupid, really. Rarely I find myself in that situation. Normally I'm one of the wrong, stupid ones, I'll admit. But occasionally I do. And it's just, I would probably come off as like a little bit angry and as a hater too in those situations, just so sarcastic and dismissive and condescending towards everything. So he did, as much as I love the guy, he did have some character flaws there. But him playing with Pink Floyd, and I remember not liking this, and I actually watched it twice, and it took me now this might have been the third or fourth try, to finally kind of like it a little bit. You can just Google Pink Floyd and Zappa, I'll maybe even include it down below. Although I don't want you leaving this video. In the past, I'd have been like, leave this video and go watch it. It's not that great. The footage is just okay. Obviously, it's very old footage. So I guess we'll just bounce right from there into, maybe we'll just bounce right into some Sphere talk from the Zappa talk. That kind of teased a little bit the 8/11/09 show. Yes, and I still don't have a lot of things to speculate on at the Sphere. I don't know what we're going to do. We don't even really fully know what that place is capable of. But one thing did jump out at me, and that was the song Sea of Stars at the Sphere, and just turning the place into a planetarium. Because I'm sure it can change just from minute to minute, song to song, and they can do whatever they want. They could get somebody involved that really knows what they're talking about, and like, hey, let's get the night sky from our debut show in 1983, or some big night. It just, I don't know. They could pick any night sky from any time in history that they wanted, really, and or they could just do whatever. They could have. I don't know. It just seemed like that seemed like, okay, well, that would be a hit. They could do that. That would look really cool. Just turn the Sphere into a planetarium, basically. I mean, it's the right shape. And then two others. They're just going to play backwards down the number line and Story of a Ghost. I don't know. I didn't look up the stats. And number line's not that old of a song. But they just relentlessly play that now anytime they're in Vegas. And Ghost, too. Ghost, when I was there, and gosh, I guess all the way back in 14 now. I knew Ghost. I love Ghost. You probably love Ghost. I knew people loved Ghost, but boy, I had never heard such a strong reaction. We're talking like Antelope, Tweezer type of reaction, pop from the crowd. More, sadly, more does get a reaction. It's a good one, too, positive. That's why they still play this stuff. I was thinking of like Petrichor and Time Turns Elastic recently. And, the songs, if the crowd had reacted positively to those, they would probably still be in the rotation. However, they're not. Look, Fuego, a similar song, I guess, kind of in a way. Maybe. Sort of. Maybe they, like a little bit. Not really. But anyhow, it was a song that got a positive reaction, and it stayed in the rotation, whereas Petrichor and Time Turns Elastic, like the album's coming out, it's a new song, they play their tour, they play it every city, and then boom, that's it. Really, basically, to never return. Maybe they did drop one Time Turns Elastic on us. But I don't think Petrichor has returned since that fall of 2016, really, into winter or whatever. Maybe at New Year's or something was like the last time that run. So I guess that's about all I really had there. And then not a lot on the James Brown video, but it was just like, whoa, I never knew this existed. I mean, it had millions of views, so I'm basically alone. You may have even knew this existed, but it was James Brown, Michael Jackson, and Prince all on the same stage. It was a James Brown show. Prince and Michael were there. He calls them up on stage. Michael was like not wanting to be a part of it. So he goes up and, he just kind of, bashfully sings the words, I love you. Sung them well, too. This was like 1983. This was prime Michael Jackson, before whatever happened to that guy. And then long before the accusations, of course. I say accusations, but I mean, he probably did it. But, look, we're just going to have to do some separation here. And then so he goes on to moonwalk. I don't even know if he had moonwalked at that point. And obviously James Brown was not going to be outdone by many people, but he even was just like blown away. So then he calls Prince up on stage, and Prince is like, he had no chance at following that. And, Michael could sing and dance, and it was just unbelievable. Not that Prince couldn't, but he could, certainly. So he just, goes up there and kind of forcefully grabs the guitar from the guitar player in James Brown's band. Just gets really weird, doesn't do a whole lot, eventually removes his shirt, passes the guitar back, dances around a little bit with the mic. I don't even know if he said anything. Oh, maybe, one thing he did do with the guitar, it reminded me a little bit of Cross-Eyed and Painless, both Phish's version and the Talking Heads. There was just that little breakdown where he's like, that little ripping part in Cross-Eyed. And I was like, whoa, that might have been around the time the song came out. James's band was doing something very funky, of course. And then, as Prince is leaving stage, there's some big, thing on stage. I don't know. It was like a fake lamppost, basically. Look, it was made out of cardboard. Well, he leaned on it to like use it to help himself off stage and pushed it right over into the crowd. James was not really impressed. He was blown away by Michael, not really impressed by Prince. He was like, oh man, why'd I invite that weirdo up here? So let's see. Maybe what should I move on to now? Nothing really feels like, okay, the shows that we do have coming up, if you've been following along with the recaps for the members, we got August 11th, 2009, with that Harry Hood that I think I mentioned, BB King, that show from 2003. We got December 30th, 97. And, oh yeah, the Hampton show from 2018. October 19th is that Hampton show. Then it got me thinking of other shows. Like there was a really weird, UFC event the other night. Just like everything was weird, man. Like guys getting eye poked, girls getting sick right before the fight, not fighting. Some strange referee with some what people thought were questionable stoppages. Just a lot of weird stuff from top to bottom. Upsets. I don't know. Yeah, so that sort of had me wondering and looking around. Like, I know there was the Phish show in Cincinnati, maybe in possibly 94, 91, 92, 93, 94, somewhere in those range, 95, 96, 90, or 90. It definitely wasn't 97, 98, or 99. Somewhere between 1990 and 1996. Phish played a show in Cincinnati where there was a fire alarm issue. I think people were still smoking and the fire alarm kept going off to the point where they had to stop the show and like empty the venue at one point. And then Trey had to be like, stop smoking. If you keep smoking and this happens again, the show's it. There is no more. If they kick us out again, they're not letting us back in. This fire chief, he seems pretty serious, He's not in the mood for a bunch of Phish fans. I don't know if this was at Bogarts or where this was. One of the smaller places. A city that they've played, 10 to 15 times, I believe now. Maybe a dozen. They might have had it, maybe 9. How many times they've played Cincinnati. So unlike Vegas and all their numbers, I'm not on board with the numbers right now. Although, a minute ago we were kind of jammed up on that James Brown video. I did not know where I was going to go, but I have found my way. So is there any weird, like I'm saying here now, not to get off track again, I have found how we're going to bounce through all these, is what I'm saying. And, but I was looking, and other than that, and I guess maybe we wouldn't know if there has been a Phish show where just nothing seemed to be able to go right. It's like Trey breaks a string here, Mike, he can't get something in his gears not working all night long. Page is just feeling like he's too high or low. Fishman's just like feeling sick, like he's just going to vomit through the entire first set. A couple of their techs got lost on the way to the venue. I mean, just something like that, I don't know. Has there been a show? And likely we would never know if there was. They've played so many shows at this point. Had to be some nonsense in 09, possibly even 21, 03, 04. I mean, Coventry. Why were they so far away at Coventry? That was odd, right? So I don't know. Other than Coventry was kind of a weird show. I'm sure there's some real backstories on it. The curveball that never happened. So, but some of you go all the way back and maybe you just remember something that's not necessarily documented, but like, oh yeah, this was very strange. Like these 3 odd things happened, or, I don't know. I'm not sure. Not even sure what I was looking for, but I just know that UFC event was just more odd than normal the other night. Just like just nothing seemed to go right. I don't know. Maybe it was Atlantic City. Maybe that's what happens when you go to AC. Phish ever had any weird shows there? I don't know. So I don't know. Like, so that made me think of, the Phish and the UFC event being weird and the Phish event being weird. Kind of made me think, like, I know there's some people that not only they're not into sports, they seem to almost despise sports, like Phish fans that watch this channel. And I mean, I get many people unsubscribing when I start talking football in the fall. They're like, I'll be back for Phish, man, in the summer or something. But until then, see you later, sports guy. But it's a very similar thing. I mean, most of sure, you like the music, you enjoy music, but part of why you keep going over and over again and listening over and over again, it's like no different than a vacation or something. It's just like a getaway. And in this case, it's a quick getaway. Sometimes a night, some nights a few nights, maybe a weekend or something, a week for some, the entire summer for others. And it's just like whatever your problems are, even if it's just something as simple as like, yeah, I don't want my buddy to call me and ask me for a favor, just whatever your real world problems are, big or small, they're just kind of completely gone. Like nothing can really happen in those few hours while you're at the show. And it's very similar with sports, I would say that's another reason why I'm so into it. Whatever I got going on that's bothering me, I'm not really thinking about it during that Browns game. More often, I mean, unless it's something real bad. The same thing with Phish, So I don't see how most people don't get in tune with both. And what made me think of that, I was watching a scene from Vision Quest. I finally got around to watching Vision Quest. Well, I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen Vision Quest yet. But I know as like a UFC fan and just an overall '80s movies fan, that's one that I've always heard about. But never had actually watched it. Didn't really know, barely knew anything about it other than all the kind of songs that were in it. I don't want to say famous songs, but sort of infamously in that movie, those type of songs. And it was the Pele scene, that was the one that did it. And then I think that we did talk about the shows that I got coming up. All right, I think that just about covers everything. I don't know if we're going to talk about that situation with the kid in the street. I just feel bad about that. Reminded me of something that probably happened to me as a kid. So I'm turning the corner, and as I'm turning the corner, I see these two kids. I don't know if it was like some kind of ball that seemed really bouncy, and they're messing around with it. So of course, inevitably, it gets away from them, goes right out into the street, and I'm already thinking, oh, they're going to run right out in front of me. I'm 30, 40 feet away at this point, so I slow down, I hit the brakes, slow down, almost come to a stop. But they did not run out in front of me. They kind of looked and were looking and looking. And I'm like slowing down and almost stopped at this point. Meanwhile, the ball has now crossed the street, banged off the gutter, and is rolling right into the drainage to be gone forever. And I don't know. I felt like a little bit responsible. Maybe if I would have just yelled like, go, 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 go. Or maybe if I had sped up and tried to zoom past, I don't know. Just a bad scenario overall, but I could just see how deflated they were. You could just see it's like, you could just see them shrink as that ball, boom, 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 down, gone forever. Not a situation where you could go over. I don't know. And yeah, see, it bummed me out again. I shouldn't have brought that up. I don't know what to do. I'd like to try to go down there and try to retrieve that ball for them somehow, but just kidding. I don't feel that bad. Fuck that ball. Fuck those kids. All right, guys. Boom. We're out of here. All right. So I hope this was, I don't know. Was this enjoyable? This was 17 minutes of I don't know what. If you watched it all, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Maybe even if you just bounced around and then you ended there at the end, me telling this horrible story, and then ended it with being like, I don't care about those damn kids. Really, I'm just waiting for it to get totally dark out there. Can't believe I got through this with no cat action. There might have been a couple of pauses in the action to deal with the cats. I don't know. I wouldn't tell you.